Welcome back, students. We're going to talk about federalism, what it is, how it works, and why we have it. Federalism is a system of government where power is shared between levels of government. We have branches of government, and we also have levels of government. A branch of government would be something like the legislative branch, or the executive branch, or the judicial branch, and levels of government would be national government, state government, and local government. And in federalism, these levels of government share power and they share authority over the same land and the same people. This is the system that we use in the United States. You recognize from interacting with government on your daily lives that there are things that are handled by the local government in our country, there are things that are handled by the state government in our country, and things that are handled by the national government in our country. And there's also areas where they overlap and share and work together. There are two alternatives to federalism that other countries use. I want to make sure you understand those to give you a better sense of what makes federalism unique. And the first alternative to federalism is a system that's called a unitary system. The unitary system is a system where the entire territory and all the people who live there, the government that controls them is located in one place. So you have a central authority, one governing place or one governing body. Great Britain is a really good example of this type of system because all of this territory and all the people that are included in it in Great Britain are governed out of one place, which is Parliament in London. If we used a unitary system, it would be like all of the United States being controlled by Washington, D.C. And by that I mean everything. No state level of government, no local level of government, just the national level of government. So unitary governments are very different, and they probably would not work very well in a country as large as the United States. There's a second alternative to federalism, and it's called confederation. Confederation is where you have a national government, but the national government is weaker or subservient to the state governments, the states, the parts that make up that nation. So there aren't too many historic examples of this, even though the concept has been something that people have tried over the years. But think about a country that's divided up into different regions or different states, and those states have significant power over the people. They have a national authority that holds that group together for trade or for defense purposes, but that national government is really beholden to the state governments. So if we practiced the confederation system in the United States, it would be different because the state governments would have all the power and make all the decisions. And the national government in Washington, D.C. would do very little, or have to rely on those states to do anything they wanted to. So I want you to stop and think for a moment. You can pause the video and think about advantages and disadvantages of these two alternatives to federalism. And what you'll be doing as you think about good things that come from using a unitary system and bad things, good things that come from using a confederation system and bad things, is essentially thinking through the same problem that the people who designed our Constitution thought through when they designed federalism. They took into considerations the good things and the bad things about these two alternatives and figured out ways to sort of merge them together into the federalism system that we use today. So stop the video, do some thinking about that, jot down your ideas, and when you've taken a chance to do that, move on. So let's explore how federalism combines the advantages of unitary systems and confederation systems and why it creates a really good system for a country like the United States to use. Federalism essentially brings in that strong central government that you're going to have with a unitary system. We have that. Washington, D.C. has some clear and strong authority. It can handle problems. It can make quick decisions. It can deal with other countries. That level of government has things that it does that really only it can do, and it is empowered in our system to do them effectively. But the one thing that a strong national government operating out of, say, Washington, D.C. could not do is really understand and be able to handle all of the problems for all of the people in all of the places across the United States. So combining that national government with state governments across the country makes things better because those state governments can better handle the day-to-day specific needs for people in their part of the country. Washington, D.C. over here would have a hard time responding to problems far away or problems that they're not used to dealing with. So these state governments in all these places across the country are closer to the people in those places, more aware of the problems that those people will face, more aware of the services that those people would need, the way that they need their economy shaped and regulated, and can make those decisions. So you essentially have all the benefits of the strong central government of the unitary system and the strong state governments of the confederation system merged together into one. The other thing that this does is it provides for an increase in democracy. It gives more people a chance to vote because we have more offices that we get to vote for. If we lived in a unitary system, we would probably be voting only for one official. And in the United States, very different than that. Citizens in the United States have the opportunity to vote not only for national leaders like the president, but also for state leaders like governors and state legislators, and even local leaders like city council or mayor or other positions in local government. So this means we are practicing more democracy in a system that uses federalism. It also means that the people living in our society have a greater access to making policy and shaping the rules. Because all these offices exist, there's a greater chance that more people, more regular, everyday people can hold office. And think about the fact that your chances of being president one day are pretty slim. If that was the only option for people to hold office, not very many of us would get to play a part in actual policy-making role. But at the same time that that's true, it's also true that many of you right now, in the next couple of years, or at any point in your lives, could run for and win a local office or even a state office. It gives you more chance, it gives people more of a chance to hold office and take an active part in participating in government and making policy that affects their lives. You also have greater access to people who represent you. You can contact elected leaders at all these different levels and work with them to address problems or make things better. So there's lots and lots of advantages that federalism brings in the realm of democracy. If you're going to have a system set up this way, you clearly have to have rules that shape how the power is shared. And the Constitution of the United States sort of defines the power and the roles that the national government and the state governments would play. There's a certain realm of power that the national government holds. The level of government that holds enumerated powers is the national government. These enumerated powers are the ones that are listed out in the Constitution. So if you need some examples of those enumerated powers, refer back to that. Think about those sort of national powers that the government in Washington, D.C. exercises. At the same time that there are enumerated powers, there are also reserved powers. These are powers that state governments hold, and reserved powers could include things like creating education policy or marriage laws or speed limits. They're basically the things that regulate and govern your daily lives, your day-to-day behavior. So you've got the national government with the enumerated powers, you've got the state governments with the reserved powers, and this way of sort of setting up the sharing of power acts in two beneficial ways. One of those beneficial ways is it creates a check and a balance, because the state governments and the national governments kind of have to respect one another and share power effectively for good things to happen. So one level of government can't overstep its bounds, and other levels of government can exercise some control over what any one government level of government will try to do. The other advantage is that having state governments out there, these states can serve as testing grounds for new laws. A state like, say, Colorado or Virginia or Texas could try out a law and determine whether or not that law is a good policy, a good idea. Other states and the country as a whole could watch the results, could watch the experiment unfold, and determine for themselves whether or not that new law would work. So it gives us kind of a laboratory of democracy where we can try things out on a small scale and then apply them to the entire country if they work out. All right, y'all, we'll be talking about these ideas in class. So bring your thoughts and bring your questions, and I'll see you there.